A Starstruck Podcast.
I'm a warrior.
Welcome to A Starstruck Podcast, where resilience meets reality, and every setback sparks a comeback.
When I jumped, my kneecap literally broke in half.
Ended up finding out, tore my ACL.
I tear my ACL at my highest point up to this point.
I took a wrong step, hurt my knee.
My ankle was turned the complete wrong direction.
Because I have Tourette syndrome.
That season propelled me to being first-round draft pick.
Our podcast dives deep into the untold stories of athletes who've battled career-threatening injuries, adversity, addiction.
The alcohol at the time wasn't helping my rehab process.
What if this is happening because it's helping me further down the line, as you explained? That perspective shift really helped me a lot.
Depression, ego, and financial struggle.
Having a support system, that was huge for me.
No, man, I've come too far to let this be my story.
Always work hard, always prepared, and you never know when it's going to be your time to shine.
Got it 10 o'clock at night, all right, I'm there.
When Tamika Catchings went down with an Achilles tendon injury last season, Carlos Knox played a major role in her rehabilitation.
Having nurse support, and then, of course, having you.
And came out stronger. A Starstruck Podcast, hosted by Carlos Knox. Starstruck Podcast, back at it with the one and only Carlos Knox. I have my brother Nuri Muhammad here, and I'm so excited to bring him in. I mean, I've talked about some of the guests that we'll have, but this by far exceeds beyond expectations when it comes to a young fella that I kind of grew up with in Indianapolis.
That's right.
But at the same time, just honored to have him a part of us, and looking forward to some great dialogue. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, Los. I'm doing good, and honored to be able to share space and time with you, my brother.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad I'm not on the court with you again. I don't know if you remember back whenever at the Y one time we played 21. You gave me 18 points, and I still only won by one. That's was you.
I do not remember that.
You wasn't nothing to play with.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's those were the days, man. Those were the days. You know, one thing I loved about it was the support. Like at all times, it was always, you at the games and you being around as a family member. So that was big. That was huge for me, man.
Sir. Yes, sir. It's an honor to watch you build that legacy.
I appreciate it. Yes. How are things in Indy? You're in Indy now, right?
I'm in Indianapolis most of the time.
Okay.
I try to be home at least 3 weeks out of the month, and sometime in the middle of the week I move around. But I generally go to maybe 50 cities a year, but I try to be home. So Indianapolis is growing like almost every other major city in population, which is a pro and a con. But for the most part, we have the same problems no matter where you go. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he wrote his first book, it was called Message to the Black Man in America. He didn't say message to the black man. Here's one for New York. Here's a message to the black man for Indianapolis. Here's a message to the black man for Seattle. We in the same condition wherever we go. So we fighting that same self-hatred, black on black crime in the NAP as every other major city's fighting. Yeah.
One of the things that I can remember vividly is just being around my brothers, which you know very well, and just hearing the transition in them. Like, I think you were instrumental in their lives. And just I remember that was a time where I was playing ball. I was at EP1, and I would be around and just see how, you would lead them. And, obviously I commend you on that. But what was that process like as far as you joining the mosque, you joining the nation?
I became the minister in 96.
Yes.
21 years old. I don't know how that happened. Lord have mercy. But, of course, I had being where we grew up in on 40th, it's, everybody was on dope or selling dope. So I wasn't going to be on it. So we was young, doing what we was doing, but I didn't like the way I felt as I was selling dope to the people. So one day I was sitting on the porch, and a thought came to my mind. I wonder what the dope fiends were doing when they was my age. So this back then, we didn't have no smartphones, no if somebody had a cell phone, they had that big one.
Yeah.
They cost $2 every time you pick it off the hook. So we had pagers. So I cut off my pagers, went touring the hood, interviewed everybody at the trap, at the alleys, in the liquor store, asking what they was doing when they was my age. All of them said they was getting money just like me. And it dawned on me that if I'm doing what they're doing whenever they were my age, I'm en route to be doing what they're doing when I become their age. And I said that's a time to renegotiate my contract. So I started, trying to get back into getting right, going to church. My girlfriend at the time knew about the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, gave me a book, 2 tapes. I started listening to that. I said, this is how I've been believing all of my life. And lo and behold, came into the ranks, and as a young man, 17, living at the mosque. I didn't live at home anymore. I left home and lived at the mosque for my senior year in high school. Slept on a styrofoam mattress on the floor and went to school from the mosque Thursdays and Fridays.
Thursday, Friday, yeah.
I only went 2 days a week. I still had a 4.0 GPA, but I only went twice a week. Don't y'all try this, young people.
Right.
It won't work for you.
Right.
But so because of that, I always, inside of the ranks, there's a saying that blood is thicker than water.
Yeah.
It's true, but spirit is thicker than blood. So I had a brotherhood inside the ranks that was based on spirit thicker than blood. But in my mind, I'm always wishing and hoping and working to get my blood brothers and my brothers that were blood by flesh and blood sharing time with each other. I wanted them to be with me. So I said, man, if I'm feeling this good with just my spirit brothers, I wonder if I can get my blood and spirit brothers. So I worked on them. And, by the grace of God, they were able to make that pivot, and come this way, and the rest is history.
Did you have someone that really looked up, that you really looked up to and kind of put you in that mindset? Because I know you talked about it from being within. Yeah. And we some strong brothers, especially where we're from. And, but the reality is it's a cesspool. It is. Yeah. It's one of those things where the hood is the hood.
Right.
So for you to be able to depict that and say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. It reminds me of myself when it comes to, okay, I'm going to make this decision. I'm not going XYZ. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make this happen. Like, did you have an influence? Did someone influence you in that area?
The only, I would say, in the sense of a negative. So when we were coming up, all of us, we made a contract with ourselves that we not going to be like what we looking at. And that was counting not only the people from the neighborhood, but that was counting blood relatives. We wasn't going to be like that whenever we became adults. So the influence came from not wanting to be what you seen and trying to be the opposite of it. And I was blessed to not have a biological father that was there to coach and teach and etc. So whenever I met the minister through lectures, I treated his lectures like he was my father. So I nursed from audio cassettes back then and lectures and books, and I studied probably 8 to 10 hours a day. Even in school, I would study all up until the nighttime, wake up in the middle of the night studying, and I felt behind. I wanted to catch up on what I should have known. So the primary influence, the minister, and my mother, whenever she had dinner with the minister, she dropped something on him that she never said to me. Look what she said. She said, Brother Minister, I just wanted to thank you for being such a good father to my son. He said, I watched him diligently listen to you, and I don't think that I could have ever brought another man in my house that could have been a better father than you were through your messages. I was like, you ain't never, what? But, yeah, that's how I went. So he became the long distance influence.
Yeah.
There's something that they have in the world of psychology now. It's a new age science that talks about an invisible council, where you can have in your mind people that you look up to, never met, but you know about them and you know what they believe and the principles they stand on, and you can have invisible council meetings and put your issues on the table and then see what do you think Frederick Douglass would say, what do you think Garvey would have said. So I didn't know that science, but in my mind, I tried to treat the minister as my invisible counsel. And I would say, you know, to myself, well, what, based off of what I heard, what would be the decision that he would make?
Yeah.
And that was my influence.
So with that being your influence, was it easy to influence like your family and some of the friends? I mean, would you call that an easy route, or was that like pulling teeth?
Oh, it was hard. It was hard.
Yeah.
So, you know, my cousin, whenever I was all I was trying to do was get him off the porch.
Yeah.
While I'm downstairs in the basement, they cutting hair. While he's cutting hair, he's supposed to be cutting hair. He got a line of people. I'm down there teaching on hog. This man then goes upstairs and cooks a pork chop and comes back down there with a cooked pork chop on some Wonder Bread to eat it in my face.
Yeah. Wow.
So it was rough. And I told them later that, you know, it was many days that I would cry.
Yeah.
You know, hurt to see that they would be responding like that. But I was relentless. Not letting up. And I learned this, Carlos, that people don't care what you know until they know how much you care. So I had to show a lot of love to them.
Absolutely.
To get them to even listen. We already had that bond. And I learned that the best and only way to produce change in others is to lead by example. And because we had always done everything together, going down, going up, going east, going west, when they seen me going up, in their mind, I imagine they said, you know what, we supposed to be together going up. Let's ride. And, you know, they came along for the ride.
I can see that. One of the things that that was always interesting, and again, the reason why I love saying this is because this is like my brother. This is not just the average interview. So the comedic side of you and my partners and everybody from that, it just has to be, the light has to be shined on it. So I know we sitting up here studious, but man, this is one of the funniest dudes I've ever met. And even when we start opening up with the basketball game to 21 and you got 18, I mean, that was just fun times, man. So to be honest with you, like every time I talk to Reg and Steve, it's like we go into this comedic act, man, and listen to you speak and talk. It's funny to me, man. Yeah.
Well, that's laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the blessings we had coming up is that we're in poverty, but because we had so much love and we joked so much, we always was laughing and smiling.
Definitely.
So, you know, back then we called it joning.
Day.
Man, all day.
All day long.
All day. And then, you know, so that was just our way of communication. So even now, when I do teach, it's always some humor in it.
I know.
And I have found that, you know, medicine with flavor is easier to take than bitter medicine that doesn't have it. So sometimes humor becomes that cherry flavor that you could put with the medicine that allows it to go down easier. So that's been my way. And I got a saying that if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. Whatever it is. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. Whatever you're doing, you should have you should enjoy it.
Yes.
Otherwise, then go do something else.
For sure. Yeah. And it's crazy that you say that because obviously you know my background and what I do now as a coach. You know, I try to add that same flavor to my players that I'm training or coaching because it's so important for you to get that feeling and like loosen up. You know, you can't hit a free throw tight. You can't hit a shot tight, you know.
That's right.
But it's always a pleasure to get around like-minded people that understand that concept, you know. Really.
But I mean, if you, like I said, it is it is a anesthetic.
Yeah.
Humor is an anesthetic. It actually, whenever you go to have any operation done that's serious, they're going to put you under. That anesthetic numbs you to pain. So it is when you can have fun, when you can laugh, then it numbs the pain of whatever you might be going through. So I have a saying that a smile is a curved line that can straighten everything out. So if you keep a smile on your face, they even have found, Carlos, that it is a physiological impossibility to keep a smile consistently on your face and still think sad, mad, or negative thoughts. They call it body language. You know, you learn body language if somebody's like this in class. You know that they ain't paying no attention, they're not interested, they bored. Somebody sitting on the edge of their seat, leaning in, they focus, they paying attention.
Absolutely.
Somebody is moving around a whole lot, they distracted, they wish they was doing something else. Well, so it is with the fact that your psychology can affect your physiology. Your physiology can affect your psychology. So if a person just smiles, even when they feeling down, that smile, that physiological smile, can have a psychological impact and turn their mind to thinking more positive. Try it out. I guarantee it'll work.
Absolutely. I can feel that. I can understand that, and that's always been my personality anyway. So I definitely understand it. Obviously, in the nation, there's a sense of extreme discipline. Okay, but you can apply that to everything in your life. You know, especially my field, your field, whoever. You can really you can come from a discipline standpoint on every single thing that exists. But I have to be honest with you. When I met you, when I talked to you in the neighborhood, it was just impressive. I've never really seen that form of discipline used outside of the game, because you probably can turn around and say the same thing when watching me train and work and play. But just speaking to the people about that discipline piece.
Yeah. Well, this is, as you're saying, no matter what field you look at, I'll say it like this: wherever success is, sacrifice was. That's the bottom line. Wherever success is, sacrifice was. A dream doesn't get you there. Discipline does. So when you have discipline, what discipline is doing what you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like doing it or not. Discipline is when you choose what you want most over what you want now. Discipline is delayed gratification. It's what the scripture says: I walk not by sight, but I walk by faith. I'm doing something in the present time, but I'm not walking in the present time off of what I can see now. Faith, future focus. I'm doing something today, but I'm thinking about the outcome. The ancestors, they said, keep your eyes on the prize, the finish line, my outcome thing. So whenever you have discipline, you send your mind down the line of time to see what the reward is going to be for your commitment, your sacrifice in the present. And then you engage in that activity knowing that one day it can land you at that spot. So to shoot 1,000 shots a day, to have everybody out opening Christmas gifts and you outside running because the gym's closed. See, that kind of discipline is what it takes in order for you to become great at anything. So whenever you see greatness, wherever success is, sacrifice was. So I had some degree, of discipline coming into the nation, but when I got into the nation and I learned that discipline and being disciplined does not mean you're being punished, but the discipline was an honor, and that if you discipline yourself, you can learn supreme discipline to kind of save lives and win battles. That mentality let me know that, stick with it. And I said, this is what I said: I'm sitting here Saturday morning watching ESPN, people commit 8 to 12 hours a day practicing how to ride a snowboard.
Yeah.
A snowmobile. I'm sitting there watching people spending 8 to 10 hours a day practicing on cornhole. I'm like, you mean you put that much time at the Pacer game the other day at halftime? There was a lady on a unicycle.
Yes.
You see it? She was on a unicycle with one leg, with a whole stack of dishes on her foot and a whole nother stack on her head, and with one foot. And I told my wife, I said, how in the hell did she even get good at that?
How did you get good? Yeah.
But I'm saying, in order for her to be that proficient,
yeah,
she had to commit discipline to that. So my mindset was, I can't let somebody be on a unicycle holding no dishes or throwing no cornhole or riding a snowmobile, commit that much discipline to something that's insignificant. And I'm learning something that can change the world, and I don't come with more. So that was my mentality then, and I try to keep it now.
Of course. Yeah. And it also led you into, was it running? I heard running is one of your things. Yeah, like running marathons.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why I bring that up, I mean, just being real. It's like, that's an extreme amount of discipline. You got some major athletes that, you know, can't fixate on running a marathon.
Right.
But I know a lot about your marathon. I want you to tell us, though.
But that's you know, it became something to lose weight.
Okay.
Because at the Y, we at the Y, we you know, we lifting weights. Then we play basketball, and I could run, I could shoot, I could play D, however many games, and I had strength. So in my mind, I'm in shape. So we all in the locker room one day getting on the scale. Everybody gets off the scale. Nobody says anything. I get on the scale, and I'm like, does this work? They's like, yeah. I said, so is this accurate? He's like, yeah, it's accurate. That's what I weigh. I was 182 pounds.
You?
At 5'4". Yeah, 182.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, man, what? Y'all didn't let me get fat and didn't say nothing?
Right.
Why would y'all let me get fat and not even tell me I was fat?
I'm thinking
and
182.
Like, no, we didn't see it like that. We didn't see it like that. We know you was strong and we didn't see nothing. It's like, y'all. So I went extreme.
Right.
And I started doing, well, for 2 weeks straight, all I ate was oranges. I ate 4 oranges a day for 14 days. And I came to the gym and swam an hour in the pool in the morning, and then ran, walked, whatever I had to do to get 6 miles in. Ate my oranges at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, came back at 6 and did another hour in the pool and 6 more miles. I did that for 2 weeks straight. I don't even know how I did it. But so I liked running. I ended up liking it.
Yeah.
And man at the gym told me, you know, he seen me running. I used to run 90 minutes a day.
Wow.
Hour and a half, but just slow to me, just slow. And I would listen to, it was a lecture I was listening to at a minister, and it was 90 minutes. So I was listening to that over and over again, and he seen me, he said, you ever thought about running a half marathon? I said, what is that? He said, it's 13.1 miles. I said, oh, no, I've never ran no 13.1 miles before. He said, no, but how long do you run every day? I said, 90 minutes. How often? I said, 6 days a week. He said, if you can run 90 minutes 6 days out of a week, you can run a half marathon. I said, well, I'm going to go out and try it. I went out the next day and went out and ran 13 miles. And I said,
that's
man,
tough.
It hurt. It did hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt bad.
I was about to say.
But I went back. I said, hey, I did it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go in. When is it? He said, it's next week. I said, all right. I signed up, went out and ran it, and I came back and told him my time. And this is this older white man. And I told him, I said, I did it in an hour 54 minutes. I think, hour 54 minutes. Hour 53 minutes. And that was like 8 minutes or something a mile. He's like, man, that's pretty good. I said, I think I'm ready for the big one. I think I'm going to run the big one. He said, oh, hold on. No, you're not ready for that. He said, how long have you been running? I said, probably maybe 4 or 5 months. He said, no, you need at least a couple years before you do that. I said, you see, I can run the full marathon. When is it? It's in 3 months. I'll do it in 3 months. He said, I don't think you can do that. I said, well, I'm going to ask you this. What's your best time you ran it in? He told me. I said, I'm going to beat it. And that was my motivation.
That was your motivation.
That was my motivation. And I went to Chicago and ran it and beat him by 25 minutes.
You beat him by 25?
25 minutes. I ran the marathon 3 hours and 44 minutes. Whew. That was 8 minutes and 34 seconds a mile for 26.2 miles.
What did you place?
I don't know. I didn't even look at all that.
Yeah, it was just about the time for you, though.
I wasn't doing it to compete. I was doing it to complete.
Complete, right, for sure.
But that kind of became it. And then just like you've learned in any sport, when you get your heart rate up for a certain amount of time, you get into another zone where you start releasing adrenaline, dopamine, norepinephrine, and they call it the runner's high. But really, it's a high that can come from getting your heart rate up consistently for a long period of time. That really is like a drug to yourself. So it became my stress reliever, and I always felt like I'm leaving all the madness at the start line, and I'm out. I'm getting me 7 miles away from the foolishness of whatever the task is. And what was challenging, of course, is that, what I do for a living.
Yeah.
And trying to do the mental work that I have to do and earn a living at the same time, working for myself and training to do all that, So I was tired all the time.
Yeah.
But I still like it. I did a half marathon a couple of months ago in the neighborhood, and I just said I'm gonna do it. I wasn't training for it, and I ran it in an hour 41 minutes.
Hour 41.
8 minutes and 11 seconds a mile for 13.1 miles. Now I felt like I got in a car accident when I got finished.
I could imagine.
I got up, but my body didn't.
Right.
I was getting up.
Were you weight training to do this as well? Or
no,
not
I was
really?
I was just working out regularly.
Okay.
So
okay.
I do probably 45 minutes to an hour cardio every day and lift weights 5-6 days a week. So I do the Stairmaster elliptical machine run. I mix it up. So that's all I was doing. And decided I'm going to go out here, and really I was going out there just to do a slow joy run.
Yeah.
But somebody was holding a sign, and he said, "Come." I said, "No, I ain't running no 8-minute mile pace." He said, "Come on." I said, "All right, I'll run as long as I can."
Yeah.
And I ended up running the whole thing.
And finished it. Man, that's a heck of a thing.
Yeah.
Woo-wee, that's discipline at its finest there. Yeah, but so I know we kind of talked about this a little bit, but the title of the show being A Starstruck. All right, we have a lot of youngsters out there that I try to reach. I've been getting great feedback online just about what our show represents. And a lot of times we talk about injury because my passion is, I tore my ACL and it just derailed my career a little bit. I ended up playing overseas for a while, but, my ultimate goal, and you know this better than anyone, was that NBA 15-year contract. You know how it goes. But what I wanted to talk about was the basketball aspect of, I heard you speak a couple times on, young men that are so flabbergasted by not making it. In their heart, in their soul, it's really a sense or a form of depression.
Yeah, it is just that.
And I want you to speak on that because I thought you put it very articulate when I talked to you about it.
Well, it's troubling, because right now we have 500,000 black boys playing high school basketball that want to go to the NBA. Out of that 500,000, only 35,000 of them is actually going to play in college. Out of the 35,000 that play in college, only 44 of them will make it to the NBA. And out of the 44 that make it to the NBA, only 7 of them will get a starting position. And the average career in the NBA is 5 to 7 years. So you got 500,000 black boys competing for 7 full-time jobs that ain't going to last but 5 to 7 years. So the mindset, I remember Magic Johnson when they first started the G League. It's called G League. It used to be called the D League.
The D League,
which meant developmental league. And when they first started the D League, Magic was brought in to speak. And I was listening to him. They showed him speaking. Listen what he told the brothers. He said, "Brothers, I want to show you how to take the brain you built in basketball and use it for business." Why? Not telling them that you ain't going to make it to the NBA, but even if you do, and you get a 5 to 7, or you get a 15-year run, you came in at 22, you 37. If you did 15 years in NBA, how much more life do you have left to live, and what you going to do with yourself afterwards. So what happens with us is that we put our children in sports to become a professional at it, and white people put their children in sports to extract the principles from it. And because we put them in to become a professional, if they don't become it, they gave their all to something and they don't have nothing left for life. But because Caucasian people put their children in the sports to get the principles from it, if they don't make it to the NFL or the NBA, they take the principles of teamwork, discipline, hard work, working through fatigue, categorizing personal life problems and still being able to perform your task on the field or the court, and they bring that to dentistry, their law practice, their insurance company, their real estate agency, and the next thing you know, by the law of transmutation, they're able to take all the principles of greatness and the brain they built in basketball and use it for business. And that is the unfortunate side of the equation. If the brothers that had an injury, remember this, the greatest attribute of a soldier is adaptability. You got to be able to make an adjustment. So if in your mind you have, I want to be a professional at it, but more than that, I want to extract the principles from it. And whatever happened, if I make it and I'm done and I retire, I still got life to live, and I'm going, by the law of transmutation, transfer these principles over to something else. What's that something else going to be?
Exactly.
If I get injured, what's that something else going to be? So, you know, God don't create hoopers. God don't create wide receivers. That's not your main purpose for living. There's nothing wrong with learning how to play ball, getting proficient at it, using it as a vehicle to be able to put yourself and your family into a position fast that nothing else can. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, you got to have your mind thinking, what is the world-changing purpose for my life, and how can I take the resources, psychological and financial, from the game to that bigger purpose in life and carry it out. So if they did that, if we did that, then we'll defeat depression.
Yes.
We wouldn't, you know, because of what happens to us, we don't make it. Now the brother, he's in the neighborhood alcoholic. He's a dope fiend. Now can't nobody beat him at the park.
Right.
Even high.
Right. We done seen it.
Even high. We done seen it now.
Yes.
We done seen it.
Yes.
I mean, he's half court, off the glass from the corner. You know?
Right.
Tipsy. But broken dreams.
Yeah.
So resilience. You know, the word resilience comes from a Latin word resilire, which means to spring back, bounce back, or to recoil. Whenever a spring has been uncoiled, it doesn't have any bounce left to it. It's useless. But when it's recoiled, it now has power. So whenever you have resilience, which means basically the quick ability to recover from a dream-shattering injury or a mistake in life or something going bad. When you have resilience, you can bounce back, then you get up and say, you know what? This may not be the route, but let me make this adjustment because I'm a soldier, and I'm going to adapt, and I'm going to bring the principles over here, and I'm going to run them and make it happen. And what I found is that what gives man resolve to have that kind of resilience is when your why is stronger than your what. When your why is stronger than your what, meaning why am I here? Why do I live? What's my purpose for living? And no matter what happens, because your why is stronger than your what never takes you off the course to the point where you are a non-effective human being anymore. You can still stay, you know, a solid person. Because at the end of the day, you know, all the stuff that you could acquire, all the awards, the 2 NCAA scoring titles, all of the accolades and the certificates and the awards, I'm pretty sure if we went to the house from all your basketball that you got a whole room full of stuff if you wanted to. But, Carlos, I'm going to say this. The real reward for achieving a goal like that is not what you get, but it's who you became in the process. So once the brothers understand that I ain't make it, but what did I become?
Absolutely.
I ain't make it, but I got some principles that I can take with me. and use it. That's what Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, that's what he found whenever he interviewed. He interviewed the 500 most successful people in the world for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And then 25,000 people that he interviewed were failures in the field that he interviewed them. Look what he found out that was the difference. He said that the ones that were unsuccessful, they spent their time looking for things that were tension relieving, while the ones that were successful spent their time looking for things that were goal achieving. Then he said that the ones that were unsuccessful, no matter what they had good, they did not learn how to transmute it into something else. But the ones that were successful, they understood the law of transmutation. And whatever they learned from any aspect of life, they brought it to their business or to their purpose or their craft, and it made them successful.
Absolutely.
So that's what the brothers need. That's what the athlete needs. You got to follow transmutation. You got to, and look, if you don't transmute that pain, the pain will be transferred. But if you can recycle the pain from whatever loss you have, get something from it and do something with it, then your pain can be fuel for your passion. Your pain can be that which keeps you combusted, not a fire that burns you up.
Absolutely.
But if you don't make that pivot, that's what we say in sports. Now I don't know what's going on now, Los. Back in the day, you can jump off your other foot now. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I have noticed that for sure.
I'm like, what? How
you
is
looking
this?
like 3 or 4
you
steps.
pivoting? You done took this one and you are
right.
You jumping off. I'm
Man,
watching the
that's
game
so
like
true.
travel.
Yeah.
I
Every
don't
rip.
But what a pivot allows you to do in the game of basketball is to turn your body in any direction without losing your spot. So if you tear your ACL, if you don't get the contract, if you get blackballed because of something in your private life that you don't get to make it to the league, you still got your pivot.
Exactly.
Just turn to something else and take the principles with you and be successful.
You know what? And just in saying that, it's about your network. It's about the people that are around you. The surrounding factors are always huge for somebody that's going through that. We talk about it from an injury standpoint, but I mean, it could be anything. It could be anything. But
and everybody go through it, Los.
Everybody.
So I was reading a scripture the other day, and it said that the temptation or challenge of yours is likened unto every man. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody goes through the exact same test, but the degree of difficulty that you have to go through to get to certain levels of life is universal. So if I never had a problem drinking, alcohol don't tempt me. But if I had a problem with being a womanizer, women will. But if you had a problem with drinking because everybody around you drunk, but you didn't never get caught up into women, then alcohol will be your temptation. So it might take me 100 units of discipline to resist women, and it might take you 100 units of discipline to resist alcohol. It might take me only 5 units of discipline to resist alcohol, and it might take you only 5 units of discipline to deal with the pool of women. But everybody got to go through it. And one of the things that the minister said this one day, he said, people say that they don't want to go through any trials. He said, that's because you don't know the value of them. See, you don't have a testimony without a test.
Exactly.
You're not a real pilot until you can fly the plane through turbulence. You're not a real sailman until you can navigate the ship through rough tides in the sea. You're not a real human being. We're not a real believer in nothing until we can go through loss of property, loss of money, loss of friendship, or even loss of life, and still be able to stay on course. So that it's part of living. This is an obstacle course.
Yeah, for sure.
It really is. It's an obstacle course. Life is an obstacle course and a marathon mixed together with some people shooting at you.
Mm-hmm.
So
you better duck.
Come on, you got to duck, run. You got to you. So I remember talking to Brother Reggie one time, and we were saying this. There was a scripture. He said, you know what the scripture says, that the race is not given to the swift nor the strong, but to the one who endures to the end. And we were young. Look what I said to him. I said, who said you can't be all three? What's the rule saying that you can't be swift, strong, and endure to the end? He said, look at that.
Because it's the truth.
So the mentality that we bring to something sometimes causes us to short circuit the power of ourselves. Mm-hmm. So that's what when we focus more on the who than the do.
Yes.
Just work on becoming a good person, not necessarily great or grand, but good. Mm-hmm. And whatever you do, give your all to it.
100%.
I told my children, they said, why what you saying give your all to everything? Everything you do, give your all to it. I said, yeah. I said, you know why? Because how you do anything is how you do everything.
Absolutely.
So the minute that you make a negotiation that you're not going to try that hard in this because of it not being as important, it's at a certain point you're going to meet something that really is important, and you're going to say it's not important, and you're going to bring half yourself to it. So there's a scripture in the Bible said, whatever your hands do, whatever God blesses your hands to do it with all your heart or do it with all your might. Mm-hmm. So that's the other side of the equation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The brothers in the sport, they gave their all, you know. I watch people that I just keep a basketball with them the whole time. Mm-hmm. That's it. I mean, I'm saying everywhere they went, going to the store, dribbling, on the porch, dribbling, constantly. If they ain't shooting, they dribbling. And when that failed them, and they didn't make it, it was like life was meaningless, and they resulted in being a fraction of what their potential could have been.
Absolutely.
If they just would transfer the principles.
I want to piggyback on that because it's important to know, you know, when you are experiencing that and you're in the sport, it's very important for you to network and be of the basketball world and not just a basketball player.
Yeah.
You know, and I was lucky enough, I wouldn't even call it lucky enough. I was conscious enough to understand what that meant. So when I seen the coach, when I seen the general manager, when I seen the basketball player operations, when I seen these positions, and then I recognized that basketball is a $1 billion industry,
right? And
it's something that I know a lot about,
right?
You know, why not dig deep and dive into different things that now leads to a podcast, now leads to public speaking, you know, camps and clinics, visiting the world, traveling the world. So it's a lot of different things. You just can't be pigeonholed from your mental to where it's, I have to make the NBA. And I can't lie, that was me. I thought about that every single day that I breathed. And when it did not happen, it was devastating. That's why we're talking about it. It was devastating. But, you know, I went through a period, but we're trying to save the people from even going through that period. Pivoting like immediately and understanding and learning what it takes to move into that space. You know what I mean? So I appreciate those words for sure.
Well, that's, you know, there was a saying that you know, Big Mama used to always say, you know, that a fool learns from their own mistake, while wise people learn from others. So there's a verse in the Holy Quran that says this: travel the earth and study the ends of those that have gone before you.
Yeah.
And when you study the ends of those that have gone before you, you can find what you shouldn't do and what you should do. So the blessing of learning from others versus learning from your own mistakes, I know they say in the world experience is the best teacher, but that's a lie. It might be the most effective one, but it's not the best one. The best one is learning from other people.
That is so true, man.
I'm going to watch, don't drive like that.
Right.
No, don't do that. No, because look at where that ended. That was the other side of the equation that I wish I would have knew. So I toured the hood, and I interviewed people I didn't want to be like, and said I got to do something different. But I wish I would have interviewed people that I did want to be like, and asked them what they were doing when they were my age. Because what they could have told me is not only what they did that worked when they were young, but what they wish they would have done, and some of the things they did that were mistakes. So if I found somebody that already is what I want to be in life, and they can give me the formula of what worked, what they wished they would have done, and eliminate the mistakes, I can become them faster than they became themselves.
Absolutely.
So learning from others allows you to convert decades into days. It might have took decades for them to learn it by experience, but because you listening to what they say and what they've been through, now you converting that into days. So that's what this platform, that's the blessing of a platform like this, is because it allows them not to be their own crash dummy. You know, well, you ain't never seen Mercedes-Benz CEO or the owner of the company getting behind the steering wheel on a commercial, slamming into the wall to show you how good the seatbelt and airbags work.
Right.
They always have them little plastic figures with them yellow and black stickers. They call them crash dummies.
For sure.
So that's experience. So no, I'm gonna watch the crash dummies. And you know, the blessing is when you do that, then you can make, like you said, you don't have to follow the same course and make the same mistake. You can learn from others' mistake, and you can become them faster than they became themselves.
For sure, for sure. You know what? Another part to this, you know, a starstruck, is obviously loss. Like a lot of times we talk about what that can look like and how you bounce back. Resilience was a great word, because we use that a lot on this platform. You experienced one of the most unimaginable things that a person can experience, and I know it was very difficult, very touching. And I want to give you the floor. I want you to open up a little bit about what happened, just so that, again, it can be a piece of resilience as well as a peaceful, healthy platform for the same identical thing.
Well, you know, what you're speaking of course, you was there to support myself and family, but we lost our youngest daughter at 22 years of age, and this daughter was born on my birthday, so she was my birthday gift.
Yes.
That's how I seen it. So, you know, as a parent, you have in your mind a forward and upward trajectory that you know that your child can be based upon the characteristics you see in them. And you see the valuable final product. So whenever their life is cut short like that, especially unexpectedly in a harsh way, I mean, it's I didn't even know, Carlos, this is the honest truth, I didn't even know that level of pain existed, because I had never felt nothing like it. And I can say, I'm telling you the honest truth, I'm navigating with a broken heart right now.
Absolutely.
Still, you know, but we try to get healing by helping.
Absolutely.
And I was thankful to know that I had a spiritual mind, and I had scriptures to lean on, and I had a faith in God to lean on. So I knew that there's nothing that happens that's outside the will of God. It's either his active will or his permissive will. And if he permits it, he's not a vindictive, vicious, malicious God. He's permitting it for an even greater purpose. Yeah. So we have to see it like that. And it is, you know, whenever a lot of people think that whenever they accept a system of righteousness and they decide to get right, that means they're not going to be tested.
Yeah.
No, that means you're gonna get more tests.
Elevated, exactly.
Yeah. So there's a saying that that God gives his hardest battles to his toughest soldiers. And in the Quran, there's a chapter 29. It opens up like this: do men think that they'll be left alone on saying they believe and not be tried? When surely we tried those before them, so that God would know the truthful ones from the liars. Well, the Lord, the Supreme Being, doesn't need tests on us to know whether we real or fake.
Mm-hmm.
He knows our heart. He knows we real or fake.
Of
But
course.
the God within
Mm-hmm.
needs to know whether you real or fake. So trials expose us to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And if we handle them right and we recycle that pain
Mm-hmm.
and get something from it, do something with it, then pain can be converted into passion. And I'm attempting to do that. And later on or earlier in the Quran, it tells you where the trials are going to come from. I will try you something of fear. This is in the 2nd chapter. Something of hunger. I was like, well, I ain't never been scared of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's one of the blessings I've had, is not being scared.
Yes.
I have never been scared of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And hunger, I don't care about being hungry. I grew up in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
Loss of money.
Both
I've been
of them.
poor.
Yeah.
You know.
All 3 of those.
Yeah.
Hood.
Loss of property. I ain't never owned nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the last one, loss of life.
Yeah.
That's the one that is going to test you at every fiber of your being.
And I felt like, you know, the things that you've experienced, and especially that in particular, you know, I wanted to bring light to it, and I want
Yes,
to,
sir.
you know, give you love and blessings, because I've always done it.
Yes, sir.
And I really feel that from the core. Was there any one or two or even a group of people that really helped you through that time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would say that the whole village and community.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that many people had that much love for me and for my family like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying thousands and thousands of messages. I never asked for nothing,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the way it was. And I would say that they're not just sympathy, but the empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the service, me and my wife, we were consoling our friends and family and just onlookers more than they were consoling us.
Yes.
That's empathy. See, they're feeling what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that they had that empathy. But I would say that my family, my family was a great source of strength.
Mm-hmm.
The minister. And between the minister calling, checking, saying stuff all the time, dropping wisdom that you can't get from no other source. So that helped. And my wife, as really the cornerstone of the village, was the strongest of all of us. So I'm like, hey, wait a minute. You know, a mother losing a child is way more challenging than the father losing that child, because that child was actually formed in her womb, and her thoughts became a part of the mental makeup of this child. Her body and what she ate became part of the ingredients used to build the physical constitution of this child. And she's the one that walked her and changed her, taught her. So the fact that she had immediately, she said that I don't know what it is, but I feel her presence. I feel her love. And I said, I don't feel it. I'm sad. I don't feel it. I'm bothered. Right. And I was, but she was positive through all of it. And of course she got down.
Of course.
At times, and we still do. You know, I being 100% honest, I had a dream last night that was a bad dream. You know, that involved the whole situation.
Yeah.
You know, because not only did it happen, but the police would not go in to her apartment to find her. But because I was on the lease, I could go in. So I had to go in and find my child in that state. And I never would have wanted to have that image in my mind of my daughter in that condition like that. Never. And I'm saying this because there is some of my family members literally had been rushed to the hospital thinking they were having a heart attack. And I'm talking about young members of my family. And guess what it was?
What?
Broken-hearted syndrome. That's real. That your thought process, what you're thinking, can bring you down so low that it starts affecting the way this muscle in your chest pumps blood. And it feels like you're having a heart attack. You can die of a broken heart. There was a young sister who lost her teenage son. Can't remember what city it was. It was 2 weeks ago. She lost her son unexpectedly. The day after the service, she died. She was only 40-some years old. No health problems. She died from a broken heart. So we have to be careful. Of course. We have to be careful that we process the circumstances of life properly. Because if we don't, it could kill us. But if we do, it might be able to heal us.
Blessing. Yeah. Was it anything that stands out that you learned, like during this journey, when in the loss of her?
Well, one of the things that, how can I say it? The flesh is a veil. And as long as somebody is present with you, you have a tendency accidentally to take them for granted. But as soon as you know they're gone, that's whenever you began to see the characteristics, the personality, and the unique qualities that they possessed. So one of the blessings, of course, is when the flesh is gone. So my daughter's gone, but now I'm still looking at her characteristics, her uniqueness of her personality, the way she thinks, and I'm learning from her. More probably than I would have learned had she stayed among us. I can't say for sure. But I'm learning it now, and I feel obligated to keep her alive. And I have no other way of keeping her alive other than taking all of those unique characteristics, personality traits, the way she functioned and processed in a positive way, the way she treated people. Now I got to take all of that in and incorporate that into me. So that through me she lives. Of course. Again. So that's one that I learned. The other one is that whenever you live a life of service, you always think about how what you're doing can impact other people. So in my mind, I know how many people are looking at me and how many people may be looking up to me. So if they can see me handle something that they know is great trial, then maybe whenever they're going through what they're going through, they'll say, wait a minute, this ain't no level of losing my daughter like Brother Nuri. And look at the way he's been operating. In spite of, I'm gonna keep on moving. So that helps.
Hold on, one thing. I cannot lie to you, man. That is exactly how I look at you, and not only you. Yeah. I'm just saying, when you have people that has experienced tragedy or devastation, it's always a situation, like you said, the microscope is there. Yeah. I respect this brother. I love this brother. I listen to his message. He's such a pillar in the community and a pillar in my heart, as my friend. I look at him and I say, okay, his strength is magnified. And it's something about that piece that spews off greatness. You know what I mean? And that's not to downplay the situation. That's to give you props from your spiritual walk as well as who you are. But at the same time, man, that's it's admirable, man. It really is.
Well, we thank you, and we give we say all praise is due to Allah.
Absolutely.
All honor belongs to God. And everyone may be placed in a position similar where they have someone that will renegotiate their excuses and continue to push forward just off of knowing that my uncle did such and such and went through that and still came out.
Yes.
Look at this, Carlos. This is the honest truth. There's a brother that got hit by a metro bus on a scooter, broke his legs. I'm not talking about broke his legs at the joint. I'm talking about at bones, arms, ribs, jaw. They told him that you will never walk again, and that you will not be able to do anything with your arms. So we don't even know what kind of therapy we can put you through. He was to the point where he didn't want to live no more. So they told me about him, and asked would I talk to him, and I on the phone, I asked him. He was crying and saying that they got me on oxy, and I can't. Nothing work. I'm in so much pain. Nothing works. I don't want to be here no more. I can't take it. And I said, didn't you say? Who you live? You say you're living with your children? How many children do you have? He told me. I said, honestly, do you think that you could have been a better father to them when they were growing up? Yes. If I had knew such and such, yes. I said, well, here's an opportunity for you to make up for all the lost time. I said, because if they can see their father broke up the way you are, and you can be in a positive spirit and still talking to them and thinking and showing care for them, from now on, every time they run into a challenge in life, they're going to remember, wait a minute, my father, and I'm from his blood. And I watched him on his deathbed with a smile in excruciating pain, and still so forth and so forth. That brother stopped crying and immediately start thinking not about myself being sad and dying and I'm going to leave, or woe is me, I'll never walk again. He started thinking about being an example for them. Next thing you know, I see him a couple months later walking with no cane or nothing. Walking. I said, what? He said, I've been through 8 surgeries. They said I was never going to be, I'm here, walking, talking, functioning normal. But what made him heal is him putting himself in a position to be of service to someone else. This time it happened to be his children, which made it a little easier. But all of us, if we're willing to put service above self, then the God will take care of the self.
Because that word was huge for him too. I mean, just talking. I mean, you can't downplay it as if that wasn't his motivation, because that's big. That's huge, man.
Well, we appreciated it, and he's, hopefully he'll get a whole lot of millions of dollars and be able to get healed and be able to do everything for his children that he's been wanting to do. But I know I didn't get a chance to talk to his children, but I know they're all adults. I know that they got to be thinking, look at my father. And if he's that and I'm from him, look at me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The minister said this one time, Carlos. The Honorable Minister was Farrakhan, who I'm talking about. He said excuses are equivalent to sin. And the scripture says the wages of sin is death. So every time we make excuses, it's like we're killing ourselves. So excuses really are a permission slip for mediocrity. You you ain't taking it to the class, teacher, or the principal as a permission slip. You're showing it to yourself that I'm going to use this justification for why I'm not going to be the best that I can be.
That's all it is.
And once that happens, and you get into the pattern of punking out in life, then it's just it's only a matter of time before your downward spiral has you at the bottom. But if you stay, you stay feeding your mind. There's a study. Stanford just did a study on 200 athletes. 200 athletes that operating on a high level. You already know. You when you was sore every day, right?
Absolutely. Sure, every day.
Every day. So and you never played without some form of an injury.
Never.
You always a little hurt.
Yep.
The ankle ain't never got right. Something ain't right. So they were showing how athletes, these 200 athletes, they went through more pain than the average person. They put in more hours of sacrifice than the average person. They missed out on more pleasurable events and even money-making avenues. You can't be working at a fast food restaurant and get your 1,000 shots off too.
That's true.
So young people can make money, but you young and can't make money. All you got is basketball. So after the math was done, they took the group and showed them in comparison to the other 200 students that were regular, intelligent Stanford students, and found that studying their brain, the athlete was more happy and was happier than the regular person. And guess what they said?
What?
It proves that pleasure does not, or joy doesn't come from pleasure. Joy comes from achievement. So by the fact that they were, even though they were tired, hurting, not having as much resources as the next person, because they had more achievement, they had more happiness.
I am a living witness of that.
Yep.
And that's very, very true. That's very true.
Wow.
And understanding, especially when you, like you said, when you've done it and you've been a part of that. Yeah, that's an interesting study, but it's the truth. It is.
I'll have a challenge to an athlete. Don't allow yourself to be just a physical athlete. Be a mental athlete and a spiritual athlete. We're a tripart being. We're mind, body, and soul. So you don't want to just be 1/3. Be all of you. So, but even Paul, look at what Paul says in 1 Corinthians. He says that I train my body as an athlete does. Look at this. So that I will know that after preaching, I myself will be what I preach. I'm paraphrasing. So he's saying that putting himself through physical regimens of exercise has an effect on his mind and his spirit. And I'm saying that having that principle of athleticism and bringing that to be a mental athlete or a spiritual athlete and committing discipline to making your mind stronger and making your soul pure, mix all that up together, unstoppable person.
Unstoppable.
Yep.
That's real. That's real. Well, the reason I wanted to really bring that part up, and I talked to you a little bit about this, was, a Starstruck being the title, it's not just about athletes.
You have to try to walk a walk that you can find out the why to whatever happened.
Yeah.
That's basic. That's why I say your why has to be stronger than your what. That's what gives you resolve. So if you are a struck star, and as we talked before, a struck star is not just an athlete.
Right.
That had an injury or, broken dream.
Yeah.
But what happens, as you gave an example of a father of a home that may be a painter for a living. Breadwinner, he's the breadwinner, he's the maintainer of the home. If he falls off of a ladder and now he can't climb and paint anymore, that's a star that got struck.
Absolutely.
Most people think when they hear the term starstruck, they think about how they feel when they meet someone that they look up to, and it freezes them. But the way you are using it is showing that, yeah, people can get starstruck, but make no mistake about it, stars can also get struck. And when stars get struck, how does that star get its light back?
And again, I said it's passionate. It's passion from my standpoint because it happened to me in different areas. Obviously, we talk about the athlete part of it, and I know several people that it has happened to. So
and really, nothing ever goes quite like you want it to go.
Exactly. Anyway. That's so true.
You got your mind fixed that it's going to be. Sometime, if God would have shown how long and hard it was gonna be to get to what you put out there, you would have said, I ain't gonna do this.
Right.
So he has to hide some of the elements of time and suffering that you might have to go through to get to a destination just so you can get to the destination.
That's so true.
So, but in your mind, you didn't see none of the pain, or you didn't see as many obstacles, or it taking this long. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that whenever he met his teacher, Master Fard Muhammad, and he was given this assignment to get this message to his people, he said, yeah, I'll take it. And he said, in my mind, I was thinking, I'll have this done in 6 months.
Right.
He said, you never would have told me 40 years later.
Right.
40 years later that I'd still be. But so that's kind of the way it goes. So whenever we have a study guide that the minister gave us called Rising Above Emotions into the Thinking of God, you know, rising above. Notice that when you go to the hotel, the penthouse suite is not on the first level by the gift shop, tallest, highest. You go to an apartment and you rent or penthouse suite at apartment, presidential suite at a hotel, always top floor. Most cities, the mayor's office, top floor of the building. Why does everybody that is in power or great, why do they want to be up high? Because the higher you are, the farther you can see, and the smaller things look to you. So it is when you can rise up above emotions.
Above it, yeah.
When you can come up in intelligence and wisdom. When you can rise above them, then you can see farther and you can see better how to negotiate them. And I've learned that mathematically, it's almost to an exactitude. However high your emotions are on a scale of 1 to 10, that's how low your logic is going to be on a scale of 1 to 10. So if your emotions is all the way up to a 9, your logic is going to be at a 1. If your emotions is at a 7, that's 3 from 10. Your logic's only going to be at a 3. So the only way that you can have facts over feelings is you got to have your logic, your reasoning, your deduction, your spiritual mind. It has to be up, and emotions have to be down. And if you got them down, they don't die. You control them instead of them controlling you. And that's something that has to happen in life. And anytime you're in leadership or you are in any professional craft, 2 emotions you're going to have to overcome. More so than any of them, it seems to be frustration and disappointment. You're going to get frustrated with others and yourself, and you're going to get disappointed in others and yourself. So I have a saying that never let praise or success go to your head, and never let failure or criticism go to your heart. Because if you let failure and criticism go to your heart, it will depress you. You will be down.
Yes.
And if you let praise and success go to your head, you're going to be too high up. And pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before the fall. So if you can have the balance of, even if I make a mistake, new mistake next time, if I have a failure or a criticism, I'm not going to let it go to my heart where it breaks my spirit. I'm going to handle it, see how to renegotiate it, and do better next time. And if you don't let the praise or the success go to your head, you'll remain humble and hungry and be able to keep on making progress.
Yeah. That's real. That's real. It was one other subject I wanted to talk to you about, and it was I know we talked about this, but it was the October 7th date.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I shared with you that was my birthday, and when I told a few of the other brothers that, I mean, they were just like, wow, that's real, but the significance of October 7th, the floor is yours.
Well, that's the birth anniversary of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, October 7th. So you are born on a good day, my brother.
I appreciate it.
A good day. And you kind of look like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, just a little bit close. I mean, no, when you get the mirror, now get the mirror and get the picture. Just a little bit, just a little bit. No. But you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, from our vantage point, is a messenger of God raised to give us our unique, tailor-made way of devotion from God to help us to recover from the transatlantic slave trade and 400 years of slavery suffering and death and miseducation. So to have that as a birthday is a great blessing.
I appreciate it, man.
We celebrate your birthday every year.
Yes,
Right.
I talk to Reg and Steve all the time about it. Yeah, man.
So that's a great thing.
That's
I
big time.
I do know that one of the things that people do a lot of times get too caught up in is their birthdays. And in Islam, we don't even celebrate birthdays like that per se, because the day we were born, we didn't do too much of nothing. Mama did all of it. So birthdays really should be in honor of mothers. So we try to call mom and say, Mom, thank you for bringing me into the world. And you'll be surprised. You can ask our parents, did you think about getting an abortion? And I guarantee you, if your mother had you at a very young age and it wasn't planned and she wasn't married, it's a strong possibility that she thought about it more than once.
Definitely.
So I'm here, though.
I'm here.
So that means that whatever war you had in your mind, bringing birth to me won. So thank you, Mom.
Thank you
for bringing birth to me. and then of course, whenever you see an obituary or even a tombstone, the first thing that people do when they see it is they look at birth date and they look at the day that somebody died. And then they calculate how many years in it. But the most important is not the birth date or the day that they passed. It's a little dash in between it that represents their life. And look at this. I looked in the dictionary and looked at the alphabet, and birth is a B, death is a D. But in the alphabet, something comes between B and D is C. So you got birth, you got death, but the most important part is the choices you make in the middle of that. So in our birthday celebration, we should say thank you to our mothers, and we should be more interested in the dash, the choices
between
than the birth and the death spot.
Absolutely. So, brother, what's next? What's next for you? What you on a world tour or something? I know how you do it, man. We might see you on CNN tomorrow.
I go where I'm invited.
Yeah.
Generally. So I don't even plan a schedule, and I don't do any what you would consider self-promotion. I never have ever called somebody and asked them, why don't y'all need a speaker? And I don't do none of that.
Of course.
If you want me, then they ask.
Yeah, just like I did.
But I stay in the lab. I stay in the laboratory. If I'm not swinging the sword, I'm sharpening the sword.
Absolutely.
So, I always have that responsibility. So I'm an author, of course. I have 7 books.
I was going to ask you
now.
that,
Yeah, I have 7 books. And I do have 2 more that are about 80% done. And coming soon to a ghetto near you.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. But I'm always doing that.
Yeah.
Because the spoken word is good, but the written word makes you more exact. So I was forced by positive peer pressure to write books. And it started really with people always asking, have you thought about, will you please write a book? Please write a book. And then as I'm going to teach and speak in all these locations, the organizers, normally at every location, when it's all done and said, at the hotel, they want to know, can I talk to you about a private matter? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. And almost all of the organization leaders, freedom fighters, people that's trying to do stuff for the community, almost all of them were having personal problems at home. So I said, man, if when marriage is done right, your home is supposed to be a spiritual recharge center. It's supposed to be a place that you unplug from the world, come into a place and you plug into a pure source of love and extract from that environment peace and power, so you can go back out and fight. But I said, man, if the people that are fighting in the world for us have to go home and fight at home, how are they ever going to have the energy to be effective? I said, so instead of me continuing to have these little sidebar meetings, one at a time, let me just put it in a book. And so I came with Before You Say I Do. And then they said to me, well, yeah, that's cool, but I mean, we already married. I said, right. Okay, well, here, After You Say I Do. And now I tell them every time they say, pull me to the side, hold on, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. That's the old school doctors used to say. Yeah. So I put Before You Say and After You Say I Do. And so far, nobody's called me in the morning. They've been a source of great counsel in mate selection, and they've been a source of great counsel in nurturing even stronger bonds in marriage. I always say that if you're looking to plant your love, Before You Say I Do is right for you. But if you've already planted your love and some weeds have grown in your relationship, and you want to pull those weeds and sprinkle some fertilizer on it, then After You Say I Do. So I have those two. I have 7 Jewels of God, Let This Mind Be in You. I have Black Woman's Second Self of God, A Well-Made Man, and my latest book is The Mathematics of the Mind. So, that's what I kind of do. I'm a servant, so I don't try to push and promote. Do you know that I have never put a clip on YouTube before?
Really?
Never. I have never posted a video of myself in no shape, form. Everything that's circulating is other people that seen something, that thought enough of it that they wanted to share it.
Wow.
So I kind of consider it to be organic, to let the people talk. And whatever they feel is beneficial, they want to spread it, it's fine. But I never have been self-promoting in that sense. But so whenever we're asked, we do. I do have a few engagements coming up for several for the rest of the year, but that's what I do. That's my purpose for living.
Are your books available online?
Yes, they are at NuriMuhammad.com.
NuriMuhammad.com.
Yeah, and Amazon has all of them too.
Okay.
So if you on Prime,
for sure,
free shipping. And if you order them, all of them will come in 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just getting out of here, what is there something that you would state or tell the youth, the public, again, with our platform being a resilience platform, just understanding what it takes to move forward, keep pushing. It's been several jewels, several nuggets dropped here, but just a closing statement for the world.
Well, I would say to the young up-and-coming soldiers, remember this: there's nothing more powerful than a made-up mind. I learned that from my teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So that what we have found is that when you have a made-up mind, it activates inside of your brain an override mechanism that shuts down all the self-destructive, self-defeating commands that you may have received from the outside world. Spirit killers, dream snatchers, aspiration assassins that we met in school, in the hood, in our houses. Whatever's been installed in your mind, if you got a made-up mind, you have the ability to activate the override mechanism in your brain and put in check all the negative that you've seen. So once you know that, there's nothing in the heaven above or the earth beneath that can stop you from achieving your goal. Long as it's good, long as it's right, God will back you. But if your goal is wrong, and even if your motive is right, and the route to get there is wrong, you cannot take the wrong road and expect to end up in the right place. To get to the right place, you got to take the right road. But you take the right road with a made-up mind, athlete will be just one of your ribbons, and you'll be a world changer in other fields.
Sky's the limit.
That's right.
Brother Nuri Muhammad, man, we really appreciate you.
Love you, Los.
I love you too, man. I love you too. And just look forward to you changing the world and continuing on your journey, man.
Thank
really
you, sir.
A pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. My honor.
I'm a warrior. Anything you place in front of me, I'll be victorious.